Good morning, legacy builders. So great to have and to spend another Tea Time Tuesday with you. Great, Ariel. So glad to see everyone. Come on in, come on in. And as usual, let me know what you're drinking. You have your tea with me, or maybe coffee, water, or whatever your beverage of choice is. Let me know. I am just so happy to have everyone here this morning. I am so excited because, as you can see, we have a special guest joining us on camera today. Everyone say hello to my son, Daniel. Great to have you on, Daniel. There he
Hey,
is.
hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see you all.
One thing with Daniel is he's going to bring them energy no matter what time of day
Oh,
it is. And I
yeah.
absolutely love it. So good morning. I see someone there with their jasmine tea. There we go. And some caramel organic tea. Daniel, I see you there with yours. So
You already know the what's the
the
Bohemian
Bohemian
breakfast black
breakfast,
tea.
black tea. Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. So excited for this special edition of Raising Successors on this Tea Time Tuesday. Um, Let me tell you why I have Daniel on today and what we're going to talk about. Many of you have followed, I think many people here have followed my journey with Gabrielle, my daughter, for years, and well, throughout her years and her career, her young career. And if you haven't, because I have a lot of new people I'm connected to now. So you may not be familiar with my role as momager, but you heard her story, her very inspiring story, if you took part of the Legacy Builder Blueprint Masterclass reveal that we had just a couple weeks ago. So she came on and she shared. And of course, in this community, what do we talk about? We talk about the importance of passing on intellectual assets right alongside financial assets, right? And we want that to be able to pass it on to the next generation. So it's something that I teach. And of course, it's something that is very important to me. Well, with that said, that is the reason why I'm so excited to have Daniel join us today. And we're going to have a conversation titled, Is Money Your Master? Mm. Yes, we're having a conversation around that. And here's why. And I'll let Daniel, he's going to share some more about, where he is in life. But he is currently at a place and a stage in his life where he's had to really make some major decisions and decisions around money behavior, which really required him to have an understanding of his values. And yes, just like I share the importance of knowing your values, your core values, and the role it plays in financial decision making, it's the same way I've taught my children. It's the example I try to live as well. So he's had to experience that really for himself, kind of go through what he's going through to experience that for himself. The interesting part about where Daniel is in his life is that, and I think the interesting part about just raising kids, grandkids, mentees, being around children is that they are watching us. They're watching every move we make, and they are watching our money behavior. So whether it's favorable or unfavorable, they're paying attention and they're learning from our behavior. So this is what we've experienced. I've been in a place where I've had to navigate a number of choices that required me to make decisions that I had to decide whether money is my master or my servant. It's the same kind of decisions he had to make. And I think when we're in, especially as business owners, if you are a business owner, entrepreneur, endeavors that you're exploring, there's constantly going to be times where you are looking at the numbers. Our culture, society has us chasing the money, and we have to find time to pause. Remember that power pause I've talked about? We have to take time to pause and explore really what is going on with us and our relationship with money. Am I making money a master or a servant? And y'all have heard me repeat this quote a number of times. Money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. So we Daniel and I had this conversation recently, and it really led to like, wait a minute, Daniel, you have to be on tea time because this conversation is just so good, and we need to share. He's a fountain of wisdom, wise beyond his years, and like I said, his what he's been going through lends a lot to. I think we can all relate, and we can relate to this conversation in a way where, okay, how do we make sure that we're passing down what we need to for our next generation and generation after that, so multiple generations. So Daniel, with that said, tell the community, our wonderful legacy builder community, a little about you and this interesting place you are in and how it's readjusted or reframed your relationship and mindset with money. Let the people hear from you. They heard enough from me. Let them hear from you.
Well, again, hello everybody, and Marcella, aka Mom. Thanks for having me on this platform. I mean, just the fact again, it's just amazing having grown up alongside you, right? And you having been raised by you, just seeing the platform that you've created to have these kind of conversations. Um, I'm in a lot of different communities and a lot of different rooms watching these things come to life. And it's just great to see that at home is where some of the most pertinent wisdom is getting poured out and passed down. So really grateful. So yeah, like you guys said, or like my mom said, and like you guys know, my mom likes to pass down intellectual assets as well as the physical and financial assets, right? And you guys have met Gabrielle. So you've seen just some of the product of what that is, right? And I've kind of had my mom just be really on the down low with what I'm doing in my career. Not sharing too much. I work in television, film production, movie production, so there's a lot of moving parts, sensitive information going around, right, and just things that are moving, right. So I like to let things move and flow, as I say, right, and we don't like to we like to move in silence, right. But why we're on here today, why she brought me on here today is to talk about that conversation of money or money being your servant versus your master, right? It's kind of funny when we were talking about this conversation, I was trying to think where do we want to start here, right? Because I like to speak from a space of where I currently am and where I'm growing, and growing through. And when I look back, right, when you're a kid, you guys all know the saying, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Well, when you're a kid, that's where they think it grows, right? And for me, all I know is up to a certain point around 16, 17, I obviously didn't think it grew on trees anymore, but I really wasn't considering where it was growing or where it was coming from, right? I
Right.
grew up in the instant gratification, financial slang, not financial literacy generation, talking stock markets, Robin Hood, watch everything blow, make your money as fast as possible, get your record deal as fast as possible. Because people my age were doing it. Everybody my age was doing it. I didn't see why it was impossible to do it. Um, and so it took me a while to understand that the cycle of entitlement that was coming from this instant gratification, and this sense of freedom that was naturally in me. The freedom wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but yes, this cycle of instant gratification and this sense of entitlement, it was inevitable that money would end up on top of me, that I would end up having to face dealing with money as a master. And I start there because there's so many different ways that money can manifest as a master, right? This was one for me, an unconscious way that it had manifested for me, right? Where now I couldn't do anything that I wanted to do without money's permission. I didn't have enough, and it was a master over me. And then the actions, everything that I was seeking was to meet making that money, right? Which is a pretty common way that money becomes your master. But fast forward, like Marcella said, I had to start understanding what my values were. I had to start understanding, innately I understood that I deserved the best of life in a sense. I understood that my dreams, some of the dreams that I had, were maybe they weren't practical, but they were possible. And so I knew I had some pieces, but there was a childlike mentality. And so when you step out of the child and step into the man or the woman, you start to understand a sense, you start to understand that money is a real thing. You have to have a relationship with it, and you start to become conscious of your relationship with money. What we don't understand is that as a child, this money is waiting in preparation to become your servant or master, waiting for you to determine that as a child, waiting for you to step into a relationship with that as a child, right? And so when you're an adult, that relationship has already been established. I made the mental shift in in deciding I wanted money to serve me by building something that served my values. Therefore, I could pour in money through my values. And so now money was serving my values and me and what I was building in one siphon and one funnel. And there was plenty of things that started to open up after that, plenty of opportunities. They just continued to open up more and more and more. And one of the quick ways, I'll finish this point here and caveat, one of the quick ways that or one of the early signs at this level as an adult, where money started to test me again and say, do you want to be a master? Do you want to be a servant? Was beginning to ask me, how, as now I'm conscious, now I'm aware of how I'm spending. So I'm thinking of money in a more practical sense. So some of the things that we were developing when it comes to, for example, the budget for the show that we were developing, right? I would have it at a very minuscule level. And then because I didn't know how I was going to make the money for it. I just didn't understand how I was going to make the money, right? And this was another subtle way that money was becoming my master, because when you have a servant, you don't ask the servant how it gets done. You know, the servant asks you, the master, so how do we get this done? What do we do, right? And so I needed to switch that. I immediately, it was very quick. I needed to switch that mindset because, I had $10,000 budget for the show. And I knew that that wasn't enough for the meaningful creativity that I wanted to create, which was one of my values, and the freedom to create in my values, which is another one of my values. And so I had to switch that up. And I started realizing, no. You build something that's valuable and the money will come to serve that. You build something that's valuable and the money will come to serve that, right? And that's exactly what happened as the budget continues to increase and increase. And now we're looking at $700,000 budgets for just an episode, right? So when I say that number, right, that's not a number I ever dreamed of being what we would be doing per episode, right? I was just sitting there like, what are you talking about, right? But these are people now there was people who were first telling me, oh, it's not possible for you to make a show that budget. Oh, reality TV would never be, you never get a budget that big. Now people are convincing me we have to have a budget that big. And we have to attach this talent and this talent in order to make the budget that make this worth it, right? And get the budget that. Now they're vying for they're fighting for the vision that I had years ago. And I just continue to believe in it and continue to navigate and make sure that my values are in check. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that really matters, is that the values in check. So these are this was the difference.
Yeah, that is so good. I'm looking at the comments. They're adding to it, and they're chat and just resonating with what you said, Daniel. And there's so many little nuggets. And again, it's interesting because you can't really give too many details, but just from what you can share and just what you had shared, and like I said, there are the names that are attached to this and what you stood for. You stood on your values, your principles, your purpose, and even when you were afraid, when you were nervous, when you weren't sure, you stood. Mm-hmm. And life began to adjust and align to that. And I think one of the things we're talking about as we're talking about master and servant is that in this situation, it's about the next level experiences, because every next level comes with its own set of challenges. All right. And we as legacy builders, we're building. So if you're building, there's going to be levels, right? Just like if you're building a building, there's levels to that. And which each level, like I said, there's a challenge there. And that's what you were talking about. You were you're at this place where it's kind of crazy that a 25-year-old is in the room, with certain people and these expectations, and there's a lot to it there. But you stood.
Mm,
And again, I think it speaks volumes for all of us to know that you're going to be in situations where you are going to have to make decisions. There are going to be choices presented,
mhm,
and we have to make decisions
mhm.
as to, and that's why we use the subject, right, Daniel? It's like, okay, what is
Yeah.
it like? What does it feel like? Like, we wanted to take this time to help you understand, what does it feel like when
Mhm,
money is operating as a master,
mhm.
and what does it feel like when money is operating as a servant? And I
Yeah.
like to interchange it between the word servant and server, because I know sometimes servant could be like a word not everyone likes. Some people struggle with the word servant, but so I like to think of server, because money is a friend and is a
Yeah.
friend. And I look at it like, hey, if your best friend could work at a certain restaurant, and you can go to that restaurant and they're your server, and you're not going to treat them any differently. They're your best friend. So sometimes a server, if that works for you, then we'll make that work. All right. But in any case, we would
I
understand
love
that
servant. I love
you like
servant.
servant. Okay.
I do. I
Yes,
do.
because I don't see an issue with it either. I mean, like,
If you
we
can
can treat all
respect it. If you can respect it, right?
exactly,
But yeah. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you, again, in our conversation, and let me pause a second. I see a comment here that from Francesca: never thought about how a master will never ask the
Mm,
servant what is possible. The servant
yeah.
always asks the master. Well, yeah, that's a wow moment, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of enlightening. I
Absolutely.
love that. I love
Mm,
when you said that as well.
yeah.
He said it good nuggets there. So, Daniel, let's talk about what it looks like, because you and I had
Yeah.
this conversation, and you brought up some good points. We were just kind of, again, this all came about from a conversation you and I were having, and our dialogue. And with that, we were like, okay, what does it actually feel like? What has it been feeling like for us? What does it probably feel like for others when
Mhm,
money is a master, or when money is a server?
mm.
So we're going to share, points. I like to do things in three points in each area. So 3 or 4 is what I do. So let's look at the first way in which money shows up in your life as a master. All right.
I was also gonna say here, Mom, just a
Go ahead.
caveat real quick. I think one of the real importance of this section as we go through these points too is just once you feel these things, or once you see it becomes, once you know these things, it becomes so much easier to see it in yourself and in the people around you. So if you aren't taking notes, now would be a good time too.
Thank you for that. All right. And now, oh, great comment, Stacy. I see that there. I was just speaking with my children yesterday about how we allow money to control what we can and cannot do. This is what it looks like when money is a master or control us. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, well, this is perfect. You can add to that conversation with these points, hopefully.
Hmm.
So, the first area in which money shows up as a master is when you experience stress around meeting your needs, those basic needs, and it shows up as a burden that you carry.
Yeah.
So, mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when we were first going over these points, and Marcella, I don't know if you want to you want to go one by one, or do you want me to run through some of these
No,
points?
just one by one,
Okay.
because I want to make sure they get it. Yeah. So I
Gotcha.
want to say, let me say it one more time. You experience stress and around money. Sorry, you experience stress around meeting your needs, and it shows up as a burden that you carry.
Right,
Okay.
right. So this first point, this is one of the ways, and right as we go through each of these are the ways that we've experienced it, right? What we're experiencing inside of it, right? So one of the things that Marcella and I had both experienced is that it's exactly what you said. Not only do we, I'm calling her Marcella, Mom, and I have both experienced.
It's kind of weird. The
I
situation's
know,
always
right?
weird.
It's the plat. It's the plat, bro. But anyway, this so the experience, right? The one of the things that we've experienced is a not only just a stress, right? But there's a burden. And I like to distinguish these because there's stress, we can have a stressful moment, we can have a stressor, and then
Yep.
we typically we respond to that by saying, I'm just stressed right now, or that was just stressful. it's something that we understand is passing. A burden, on the other hand, that is heavier. That's something we're
Mhm.
subconsciously worried is going to stay with us. That we may not ever know how to get by. Right. This is one of the primary ways that you'll be able to know that money has become a master over you. If it's not just a stress trying to meet all of the needs of it,
Right.
of your financial needs, but a burden.
Yeah, it's
Hope that makes
lingering, right?
it's lingering. Right.
Yeah, is that linger and you feel the well, that's why I say carrying it because you feel the weight of it. Like I
Yeah.
would say you feel it on your shoulder, you're feeling the weight of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it is controlling you in that way. So that was the
Yeah.
first point.
Mm-hmm.
The second is your experience you experience distraction from your purpose, your value, and your principles.
Mm-hmm.
So you experience distraction from your purpose, your values, and your principles.
And this is just a great point segueing from the last one, right? Because
Mhm.
when you're feeling this burden of money, this is how you'll note that the next step will be that you're now feeling pulled away from that purpose, from your value, from your principles, from that thing that's giving you energy, giving you life, giving you hope and faith to move forward. You'll start to feel pulled away from that. You'll start to feel like all of those things are suddenly impossible, right? And one of the
Mhm.
and this is what a distraction is. Now, it may not always seem like that because you're paying your bills, you're taking care of your needs, right? But it's not the physical thing that's a distraction, it's the mindset, it's the heart set that becomes the distraction. Where is your focus when you're paying those bills? Are you in a space where you're grateful for something like this, that you're continuing to do this, that you're able to do this, right? Or is the fact that you've spent all week trying to make it towards this bill, stressed out, trying to make all of these different things happen, right? Not even towards the bill, but towards this course and towards this class or towards this, all the different things that you're planning. What are you sacrificing? Are you sacrificing the things that you genuinely value? This is why it's so important to get your values in check, right? Without that, you'll just go
Mm.
right under the wave. You'll just go sinking. How can you know if you're distracted or not?
Yes.
You don't have those values. So
Y
that's one of the
and who
things you'll
relates to that? Oh, sorry, let me cut you off. I just wanted to say, like, who is getting these 2 points so far? Like, you've experienced this in your life, the burden, the stress, and the distraction, as Daniel described it, as it relates to, okay, the next level, growing your business, growing in personal or professional, and
Mhm,
you just kinda get turned in a different direction because
mhm,
you're chasing the numbers or chasing, what's supposed to what you feel like where you need to be. So
mhm,
yes.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
I know I
mhm.
feel like if you're human, you're gonna say yes. As long
Yeah,
as you're
we've
human,
all
yes.
we've all had that.
Yes,
We've all seen that. It's hard to decipher. It's hard to decipher, but
exactly.
that's how you decipher it. That's how you feel it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at the third one. The third way in which money shows up as a master is your understanding supersedes greater wisdom.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
your understanding, right? You are wrapped up in your understanding.
Yeah,
I'll let
yeah,
you add to that, Daniel.
I guess the yes, right. Like the best way to describe that is like the practical thinker versus the practical logical thinker versus the I guess the dream big creative thinker or the person or if we're comparing the two, right? I'll give you an example because it's way too hard to put this into words. I would into many words. I would not be where I am or in the rooms that I'm in if money was my master in this way. If my
Mm,
own wisdom and understanding was guiding me, then practically a long time ago, I would have sold this show and my soul um, to the first buyer, to the first bidder. But I understand where my values are. I understand how this show is going to affect the next generation and the kids, and that's more important to me than anything else. Even the people who don't understand that, they'll soon find out, right? But I understood those things first, and so I did not give up the money. I did not sell my show. I did not give away my asset, my ownership, my rights. I didn't do that because a greater wisdom of down the load superseded my own understanding. So I had to tune in and listen to that wisdom. Say, don't give up that equity. Don't give this to that person, right? Don't do it. something you have to tune and tap into. But that is when you will know, are you listening to something that is practical and logical, that is trying to tell you don't do this because fear will happen, because blank will happen, that is making you afraid. Fear is the key there. Fear is the key there.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to make you, your
There's the
practical
key.
understanding, your understanding is trying to make you afraid of why you should not do something, whereas wisdom encourages you in patience. It doesn't cause any panic in your heart. So you hear this thing, and while it does kind of like, whoa, wait, but my brain knows to do this, it encourages you that maybe there's another way.
Yes. Oh
I
my
hope that makes
goodness.
sense.
Yeah, no, that was so good. So good. Okay, so we have those three areas in which money shows up as a master, which you so well you described and emphasized in your own experiences. And I believe the comments that everyone is receiving them, and you're agreeing, you're understanding this. And I
Yeah.
really want you to use this time as we just went through the master part. Okay. And I see you reflecting on how it shows up in our lives every day, and then come up with a plan. We'll do that at the end of how do we stop this cycle. If it is a cycle in your life, how do we do that? So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's touch on the ways in which money shows up as a servant, as a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, wonderful servant.
Mm-hmm.
So the first way in which you and I discussed, Daniel, is that money shows up as a servant for you when you spend money with ease and it's your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want you to kind of talk about that,
Yeah.
and I want to,
I'll touch.
before you do, let me add one thing. I said
Mm.
spend money with ease and it's your friend. I said ease, not easy. There's a difference between ease and easy for me. Just like
Yeah.
when I work, I want to operate with ease, meaning I want things to come from a place of flow,
Mm-hmm.
from a place of abundance and authority. When I'm
Yeah.
operating in a certain way, things come to me with ease, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean it's easy. Like work
Yeah.
isn't always
Yeah.
easy. There's time,
Yeah.
there's labor. So I just
Yeah.
want to experience money. We should be able to spend money, operate money with ease,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's your friend. So with that and add that caveat, you go ahead and just talk about that some more.
Yeah. I think it's self-explanatory, and you touched on it really well there. So I'll just add two little pieces on this, right? Like we said at the beginning, this is for you to be able to notice it in yourself and others, right? One of the prime ways that you're noticing that you're in the right circle, that you've surrounded yourself with the right people, and that you're in that frequency, is if you're noticing that while it may not necessarily be easy for everyone to pay the bills, it ain't always easy, to get that space, right? They're not complaining about this, right? There's a confidence in how they're spending, when they spend, how they spend. While in our minds, we may be looking at them like, dang, they just dropped, I don't even know how they just dropped all that on, spent all that money on that, right? Sometimes that might be a thing, right? Even if you're, depending on different, where you are, what you've seen, right? But yet,
Mhm.
when you're watching it when you're in that space for yourself, and when you see other people in that space, they're not worried about it because they understand where the money's coming from, right? So there is just this sense of ease and confidence and
Mhm.
abundance about their whole character, an increase in their whole character, right? That it's like it'll be all good, right? And that could be whether they know it's going to be good or not, they still carry it with them, right?
Absolutely great points there. Moving on to the second point of how money shows up as a wonderful servant is the products of what you're producing increase because of your value based decision. And I
Mm-hmm.
want you to elaborate on that, Daniel, as you said this in this conversation. I thought this one was interesting. I look because this one
Yeah.
I didn't even think of. This one you thought of.
Yeah, so one of the primary ways that you'll start to know, and I think this is probably the most practical way, that you'll start to notice that money is now serving you, that is serving you well, is if your ground is fertile. Not only are you, whatever you plant, do your fruits, does your products create more increase for your household and the people around you, but other people can come and start planting where you are, right? So what do I mean by that, right? As once you're in this state that money is serving you, as you spend, as you put out your money, as you make value based investments, around you, right? You will start to notice an increase in your values, the things that you love to experience, right? You'll start to notice an increase in the people around you. But the key here is that you will start to notice a purposeful increase, a value-based increase, where people are becoming more aligned with their own values. You're becoming more aligned with your own values. That ease is still there. That ease is still there, right? Now money is serving you because it's going out to seek your increase, the increase of the others around you. And it's just a really clear and key way to notice, okay, that person, money is not mastering that person. Money is serving that person, right? So you can start to observe some of the habits, right, of the people that you look up to. You can start to observe some of the habits of yourself, right, and your own, and the things that you're producing. Am I producing increase here? Sometimes we look at ourselves and we think, man, money's not serving me yet because I'm not making this amount of money or this amount of money, and I'm not spending it here, here, and here. But wait a minute, though. Wait a minute. Is it though? Because if you spent that money based on your values and it increased in any way, shape, or form for someone, you are now having it begin to serve you. That's what's important. If you can do well with a little, you'll do well with a lot, right? So this again, this is important for high level multi-million-dollar conversations. It's important here too.
Yes. Well, it's definitely important here with our legacy builder. So thank you for that. Such a great point there. And
Absolutely.
hitting, yeah. Now, and hitting on our third point, just because I can we could talk so much more about this, but I'm always respectful of our time here. So hitting to the third point in which money shows up as a wonderful servant is that you experience a peace in not having to know. And I say not having to know the details of every step. Not having to know exactly how everything's going to turn out. It's again the control. So talk
Yeah.
about how that shows up for you.
So we here in this group are the multi-millionaire legacy builders that we are envisioning. We here are the ones who are beginning that conversation. We understand that these things happen in cycles and phases, and the pendulum swings. Our time is coming up. What we're building is coming up, right? One of the important things to understand if we're having these conversations is that how should I put this? Taking it back to the servant, when a master goes out and sends his servant to do something, or you think of this at the same time, when you order an Amazon package, the master is not constantly worried, oh my goodness, is the servant going to accomplish this thing? I don't know. Is my Amazon package going to get here in time? I don't know if it's going to get here in time. Let me look out the window. The master is not continuously worried about whether or not the servant will serve him well, because the servant is serving him good. He picked a good servant. Now, he does not know all of what will happen. He doesn't know whether or not the servant will actually accomplish this thing. He hopes that he will, right? There's a peace in understanding that you are centered on your values. You're centered on what you know. You're doing the best that you can, and you're spending in a way that is aligned with your values, right? If these are the things that you are doing, when you send your servant out to go do what you've asked it to do, all you can do is hope that it will come back with exactly what you've asked, and maybe even more, right? But this is the piece that we, as multi-millionaire visioneers, have to be able to sit in, because I can tell you firsthand, there are going to be times where you thought everything was fine, where the finish line was here, and then it's moved. You thought things were going to be accomplished, and you thought all was well, and you put your hope and you put your plans into it, and it didn't. It did not turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn. Who are you in that moment? Who do you become? Are you still the master, or do you kind of fold? Do you become, I don't know, I was never really for this anyway. It was never really for me. I don't know. I don't really know. Nah. You gotta stand up. You gotta understand, even if your servant returns empty-handed, that it's not over. You got to understand that, right? So for the sake of time, I won't turn this into a sermon, but yeah.
Because we both know you can. It'll be a good sermon too. My boy can preach. But no, this is like I'm reading the comments, I'm listening to you, and you get great nuggets, and everyone is getting it, and I'm loving the experiences that they're sharing based off of this conversation. And I want to encourage you to go back and listen to this several times. Go back, listen to these steps, because we had to just kind of go through them, but I don't want you to just go through it quickly. I want you to listen, pause, write it down, process it for yourself, visualize how this shows up in your life. How is money actually looking like in your life? Is it a master at times? How is money right now in my life? Is it a servant? Is it a master? With the decisions and the choices that you have to make today, this month, next month, whatever's going on with your life right now, how are you operating in it? Or as Daniel so wonderfully said about the master is not worried about how the servant is going to serve. So how is that showing up in your life? So I want to just thank you for all the wonderful comments there. Sheila, thank you for sharing your experiences. Tamika, absolutely trust the process. Let's get Francesca, so many great comments there. Yes, she said, help us get there, having peace without having to know. That is what this group is all about. As Daniel said, we're all operating from that place of building multi-millions to be able to pass on. So I'll let you have the last word, Daniel. So
I was sorry. Yeah, I didn't even know you were going to let me do that. But my last caveat, based off of what she just said there, that final piece, right? If every dollar, we've been using this whole servant analogy, if every dollar is your servant, then let each of those dollars serve you well, right? Based off your values. That's one piece, right? But if you want 1 million servants, then build something worth 1 million servants. Build something that they can come and serve you, right? That they can serve you that way, right? That people will come and build that. I say that because we are legacy builders. And when we're building a legacy and we're passing it down, multi-generational wealth, these are multi-million-dollar visions. These are multi-million-dollar mindsets that we're carrying, right? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to dream big, and don't be afraid to believe that if you're building something based in your values, that all the resources that you need will come to support that. Okay? So yes.
Absolutely. And on that note, thank you for joining me, Legacy Builders, for another special edition Tea Time Tuesday, Raising Successors. And thank you, Daniel, for agreeing to be my guest on today's episode.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you guys in the comments. I'm seeing y'all.
Definitely, the people were fed. Listen to Stacy, as she said, she's going to go back through and watch this a few more times. I encourage you all to do that. Thank you, everyone, as always, for making this community so amazing, so fruitful, and full of growth mindedness. So have a wonderful day, a fabulous week, and I will see you the next Tea Time Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.